So if you ever felt like giving up on trading, definitely watch this video. So I'm somebody who's been trading for about 7 years, actively trading. I started off with shares, so I call that investing, but we talking about trading, right? I started trading in 2018, so it's 2025, that's 7 years of trading, right? And then about 9 years of investing, because I first learned investing in 2019. So my best advice, for one, is to automatically understand something. Trading is not something you can wing. You get what I'm saying? So it's not like, you putting together a bike, you're putting together a crib, you're putting together a desk. And even with those, you gotta read directions and follow the manual, right? That's trading too. And something I had to learn is everything has a system. You feel me? So everybody believes that they can just hop into trading and they can use religion, they can be ordained, they can follow whatever type of thing that they believe in and they'll be a great trader. And none of that is true. You need a system. And here's the system that I run personally, you feel me? It's a 4-step system. First is risk management. So that's the most important thing about trading, is what you risk your money on. If you don't have a risk management game plan, doesn't matter your high probability setup, it doesn't matter your secret strategy, because you need to learn how to properly risk your money, okay? And then second is A+ setups. What you risk your money on, you feel me? So I really need a lot of you to understand that without A+ setups, you also will fail. And here's the crazy thing, discipline. So the discipline to only take A+ setups, that's number 3, right? If you don't have any discipline to take A+ setups, you will fail too. You get what I'm saying? So you got discipline and then you got patience, which is number 4. So now you need the patience in order to wait on these setups to happen. You feel me? So a lot of people lack patience, right? So let's talk about all of them. And this is what you need to be profitable. So at first I used to be very confused about trading, and then I had to come up with a system myself about how to be profitable. And what I learned was, what does it take to be a profitable trader? So I had to think about what made me profitable. And I'm like, okay, first I started to really think about what I'm risking. So at minimum, you need to have what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to lose off top. And believe it or not, you need to think in opposites. Instead of thinking about how you're going to win, think about how you're going to lose, right? Because in a crazy way, if you think about losing in trading, you will actually win more. But if you're thinking about winning only in trading, you're going to take a lot more losses. Because for one, you don't want to be wrong. You get what I'm trying to say? So trading is all about psychology. So when I started to think as a loser who's playing to win instead of a winner who's trying not to lose, it was a difference. So what do I mean by I'm thinking about the loss first? So first of all, if I'm already having a loser mentality, right? Meaning like, man, I can lose on this. Let me get my best trade. See, when you're thinking winning, you like, man, I'm just going to walk by faith. I'm just going to play this setup, play that setup. I'm already thinking about like, okay, say I got a $10,000 account. I'm like, okay, well, shit, I could possibly blow this account. So let me play, with risk management. So I'm going to play what is called the 20-20 rule. 20% of my 10,000 account is 2,000. 20% of that 2,000 is $500, right? So you got to think, that's what I'm doing. So I'm playing to lose in order to win. You know what I'm saying? I'm already accounting for it. And then I got to think about my loss. The most I want to lose is $600. So a lot of people never think about, how could I lose? I'm thinking, okay, if I lose $600, but I want to win 500, I have to play a high probability setup, something that has a very strong chance of hitting. All right. So let's just say I'm on a swing trade and I'm playing with $500 out of my $10,000. Now remember, Well, I'm playing with 2,000, but the most I want to lose is $600. So you always got to think about that coming into the trade, right? So in a crazy way, you're going to win more. But now I got to go to the second step, which is the A+ setups. So now I'm thinking about, okay, what type of setups should I take? You get what I'm saying? And here are the setups that I personally believe you should take, right? So let's just say I'm doing a bullish divergence or A+ setup or a bullish engulfing or a pin bar at support while the RSI is oversold, setups like that. And what I'm looking for is confluences, multiple things adding up. So a pin bar at support, those are two confluences. We have a candlestick pattern and we have a support line, right? So I would be more reluctant to swing something like that. And then if you add, the fact that it's oversold, now I'm really going to buy this at support. Understand what I'm saying? So it's all about confluences, and that's the A+ setup portion. So now that I have my A+ setups, I got my bullish diverge, I got my bullish engulfing, my bear flag, bull flag, whatever, right? I have my setups ready. Now I have to have the discipline to only take those setups. And here's where a lot of people fail too. They start chasing stuff. Oh, this has been green for 5 days. I seen somebody make 10,000 off it. Oh, it's my turn. So I'm going to chase. That's where people go wrong. That's where you lack discipline. The discipline is to only take the setups that you wrote down or the setups that work the most for you, right? So once I started to only take, because I started to realize something. When I win, 9 times out of 10, it's something that I would take 9 times out of 10. And when I lose, it's something that I would take maybe 6 times out of 10. What I started to realize is let me play the A+ setups, not the D, not the C, the A+ setups. And then the patience. So then so it's like every step. You gotta learn the risk management. Then you gotta learn the setups you love. Then you gotta learn the discipline, because that's very hard because we're humans. So we're not very disciplined as humans. You gotta think, we live in a capitalistic society. You have to learn discipline. And then came the patience. So now I'm like, okay, now I have to wait on this setup to happen, right? And that changed my mentality, and that's what made me profitable, this 4-step system. Because then the patience, I was like, okay, let me stop exiting so fast. And then the last part, if I had to add a number 5, it would be controlling and balancing my fear and my greed. I can't be too fearful to get in, and I can't be too greedy to not get out on time, right? So that's why I came up with the 20/20 rule, or the more size, less trades rule, right? So think about it. I'm going, I'm risking 2,000 to make 500. But if I take 2 trades and they're both high probability and I hit on those 2 trades, boom, I made $1,000 just by doing 20%. And a lot of you will be like, okay, 20% is not enough, Aristotle. I can do a 0-day inspiration and get this and that. But you gotta think, let's just be all the way honest and thorough with it, right? So if you are the type of person who believes that 20% is not enough, then think about it. The bank, the high yield savings accounts, right? The most they'll give you is 4 to 5%, 5% at the highest. And that's an annual, yearly, percent, right? So if you put in 10,000, the most you're going to get back that year is $500, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? So think about that. That's out of a year worth of investments. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. If that's the most I'll get out of $10,000, then, if I can get 20% within an hour or even a day, I have literally 4x, really like 365x my return potential. I'm making 20% in an hour or 2 or a day or a week. You get what I'm trying to say? So that is how you guys are going to be profitable, if that makes sense. That is how, if you want to quit before you quit, take my advice and follow my system. And if you want to learn more about that and everything, I do have a mentorship and everything. I have all of that. You guys can come and tap in, and you guys can, get this money with me. And I'll show you guys how to be disciplined. I'll show you guys the A+ setups. I'll show you guys everything you need to know. And if you're a beginner, then that's even better, because that's what I specialize. I love taking people from beginner to, intermediate to expert traders, because that's what it's all about. It's about sharing the wealth. The more people who learn, the more wealthy society will be, the more financially free people are, the more I'll see you guys at places like this with me. I want to see you guys riding a golf cart on a Monday. I don't work a job. I haven't worked a job, since maybe 17? My fault, 2020 for real, but I had a brain fart. 2020, but I've been trading since 2017. So I've been mentally wanting to quit, but I couldn't quit the Army. If that was a 9-to-5, I would have quit in 2018. But I signed a contract and they wouldn't let me get out. So in my head, I've been financially free since 2017. But if we being technical, if I want to be for real, in my head, I was financially free since 2017. Really, I've been financially free since about 2018. I made my first 10,000 in a month in 2018. You know what I'm saying? I saved my first 10,000 in 2017. So I was about 21 years old at the time, right? On my 22nd birthday, I had over 100,000 cash. April 12th, so April 12th, when was this? About 2018, right? Or something like that. Yeah, I was balling for a little minute. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And in 2019, I had 500K cash. You know what I'm saying? From multiple streams of income, from trading. The Army paid me $4,000 a month. I was a barber on the side, so I made $3,000 a month there. Then I wrote a book, and then I was trading, right? So I would make about, I would say 5 to 10K a month trading, because I wasn't, at that time, that's what I was making. It wasn't until I saw or went on Instagram and all these things, and that motivated me, and to really make more money. I started seeing, because I was black. So you got to think, a $5,000, $10,000 a month for me was great. And people wanted to learn from me and wanted me to teach them my strategies, just making that. And I wrote a book, and then that book went viral, and I made a lot of money from that book. And I just kept reinvesting my profits in the stock market, into shares, into ads for the business, into more computers, into more better cameras, just investing and investing and investing. And if I'm being honest, I invested millions to make millions. But you gotta think, to make $1 million, I had to invest over 100K. And to make 8 figures, I had to invest millions. And to make 100 million, you got to invest 8 figures. So that's something that I learned. Everything is about climbing the ladder. You feel me? But that's my 2 cents, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure y'all like and subscribe and everything. And hopefully you guys take notes on everything I said. And I really like what I said too, because, I'm thinking about how this will help a beginner trader. God bless you guys. We out.